69 years on this earth, and nobody had ever made me feel small in the way my own son did on a Friday night in Manhattan. Not my first boss who told me I would never become anything. Not the bank that turned down my first loan request 3 different times. Not even my ex-wife Sandra, who left me for her spin instructor and still had the nerve to keep the dog. Not the cardiologist who warned me at 52 that my heart had to slow down or it would give up. Not the business partner who took my client list in 1987 and still shook my hand while walking out like we were friends. Nobody. Not once in 69 years. Until Jordan. Welcome back to Dad's True Revenge. Take your snacks, get comfortable, and remember the people in these stories always had a chance to act right. They simply chose not to. Drop a comment and subscribe. You're going to enjoy this. The gala was his idea, of course. Eugene Price, my son, my blood, my biggest success, and my most confusing disappointment, had arranged a charity fundraiser at the Meridian, one of those overly elegant places on Park Avenue where the chandeliers probably cost more than most cars, and the staff look at you like they studied somewhere far better than you ever did. $600 per plate, 200 guests, black tie, everything perfect on paper. He called me 3 weeks earlier, his voice full of the kind of excitement he only used when something benefited him directly. "Dad, you have to come. It's going to be amazing. I need family there." I should have known right then. Jordan didn't need family. Jordan needed an audience. But he was my son, so I wore my best suit. The navy one Sandra always said made me look important. I polished my shoes, took the subway from Queens because I still refused to pay Manhattan parking prices on principle, and arrived at the Meridian at 7:15 on a Friday night feeling not proud exactly, but at least included. The place was beautiful, I will give him that. Crystal lights everywhere. Soft golden glow. A small string group in the corner playing something that sounded French and expensive. 200 of New York's most confident people holding champagne and laughing like they had never doubted themselves in their lives. I found my seat at table 14, far in the back, as I later realized. I introduced myself to the people there, a couple from Westchester, a real estate man from Brooklyn, and a woman named Patricia who kept checking her phone like it owed her money. Normal people. My kind of people. Jordan found me during the drinks hour. He shook my hand like I was someone he met at work. "Dad, you look great. Glad you made it." Then someone more important called him, and he was gone before the sentence even finished. I raised that boy. I packed his lunches. I drove him to school in heavy rain. I co-signed his first apartment. I sat alone in hospital waiting rooms at 2 in the morning when he was 7 and burning with fever. And still, he shook my hand like I was a guest. I had a glass of wine, then another. I ate the bread because at 69 you stop apologizing for small comforts. I listened to a few speeches about youth programs and charity work, and for a moment I almost forgot I was sitting at table 14 like an afterthought in my own son's event. Then Jordan stepped on stage. I will not lie. He looked perfect up there. Tall, sharp suit, easy smile, the kind of confidence that makes people trust you before you speak. He got that from me, though I don't think he admits that anymore. The crowd loved him immediately. 2 jokes, both landed. He spoke about the foundation with real energy, and for a moment something in my chest eased. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe this is who he really is. "And now," Jordan said, smiling wider, "we're going to do something a little different." The room leaned in. "How many of you have a dad?" Laughter, hands raised. "How many of you have a boring dad?" More laughter, more hands. I smiled politely, not at anyone in particular. "Well," he continued, warming up like he always did when attention fed him, "I brought mine tonight." He pointed at me. Every head turned. 200 people looked at table 14. "Stand up, Dad." So I stood. Because what else do you do when your son is holding a microphone and 200 strangers are waiting? "Ladies and gentlemen," Jordan said, "this is Eugene Price, retired, Queens, New York, loves the History Channel, Sleeps at 9:30. Once described Home Depot as a pretty exciting Saturday. The room exploded with laughter. Not cruel, just careless. The kind of laughter that doesn't realize it is cutting something. I kept smiling. Because at 69, sometimes that is all dignity looks like. "So here's what we're going to do," Jordan said. "We are going to auction off an evening with my boring dad. Dinner for two, paid by the foundation. Starting bid, $1. He paused. "Because honestly, that feels generous." More laughter. Someone shouted, $1, and the room loved it. "Do I hear two?" Jordan asked like a game show host. I stood there still smiling, something very old inside me going quiet and sharp at the same time. "Going once?" he said. And then a voice came from the back. Table 1. A silver-haired man in a dark suit. Calm. Still. Like he had been waiting for this exact moment without knowing it would come today. $1 million, he said. The room froze. Not quiet. Frozen. Even the air felt like it stopped moving. Jordan blinked, smile stuck halfway on his face. "I'm sorry, did you say—" "1 million, the man repeated. No emotion. No hesitation. Like it was already decided long before he entered the room. He stood up slowly. Late 60s, maybe. Early 70s. A man who did not ask for space because space always made room for him. I didn't know him. Not then. I swear that. But when I looked at him, something in me reacted like it recognized an old language I had not spoken in years. Jordan recovered, but barely. We have $1 million, he said into the mic, voice thinner now. Sold. I sat down. Patricia was staring at me like she had just rewritten her opinion of my entire existence. The Brooklyn real estate guy looked like he regretted every word he ever skipped saying to me. Even the Westchester couple leaned in toward each other, suddenly unsure of everything. I took a slow sip of wine. 69 years, I thought again. And now this. Now I was curious. Very curious. The night continued, but everything had changed. The energy in the room was no longer comfortable. It was alert. People kept looking between me and table 1 like something hidden had finally stepped into view. Jordan kept speaking, kept smiling, but the control he always had in his voice was slightly off now. Not gone. Just cracked at the edges. And the man from table 1? He did not move. Not much. Not at all. Just sat there like he already owned the outcome of the night. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something I had almost forgotten. Not embarrassment. Not anger. Something closer to possibility. Because I had no idea who had just paid $1 million for me. But I was starting to understand that my son had just made a mistake he didn't even realize yet. After the formal program had ended, as the guests started moving toward the bar and toward one another, the silver-haired man walked across the room in the direction of table 14. People naturally shifted aside for him without even fully noticing they were doing it. That kind of presence is rare, something you cannot create, cannot purchase, and cannot learn from any book. He stopped beside my table and looked down at me. "Eugene Price," he said, not as a question. "That's right," I replied. He reached out his hand. "Maurice Parker." I shook it. Even with all the noise and energy in the room, I felt that name settle somewhere deep in my chest. Because even in Queens, even a 69-year-old retired man who usually sleeps by 9:30, even I knew that name. Maurice Parker, founder of Parker Capital Group. The kind of private equity firm that never needed to advertise because it had no need to. The kind that declined Forbes interviews. Wealth so stable it had stopped being exciting even to the people who owned it. "That Maurice Parker?" I said. "I believe we have a dinner to arrange," he said. "Apparently we do," I answered. He gave a slight, almost smile. "My assistant will contact you tomorrow." He handed me a card, cream-colored, very plain, just his name and a number. then moved away through the crowd, which again parted for him without people even realizing it. I looked at the card, then across the room at Jordan, who was watching me from near the stage with an expression I had never seen on my son before. It looked like the face of a man who suddenly understood he may have misunderstood everything. Good, I thought. Let him sit with that. I took the subway back to Queens, sat in my kitchen, made coffee, and turned the card in my hands. I kept thinking, what does Maurice Parker want with an ordinary retired man from Queens? I didn't have an answer yet, but I had a feeling I soon would. Maurice Parker's assistant called at 8:15 the next morning. Her name was Sharon. She had the calm, sharp efficiency of someone used to standing between the world and a very important man, and she was extremely good at it. We set breakfast for the next Monday at a place on the Upper East Side with no sign outside and a menu with no prices. I wore the same navy suit again. Maurice was already there when I arrived. Dark suit, no tie, same quiet stillness from the gala. A stillness I now understood as the mark of someone who had long stopped needing to prove anything. He stood when I came closer, shook my hand firmly but briefly, looking directly at me. Eugene. Maurice. We sat down. Coffee arrived without either of us asking. I decided right away I liked the place. I'll be direct, Maurice said, holding his cup with both hands. I don't like wasting time, mine or anyone else's. Neither do I said. Good. He studied me closely, like someone used to judging things fast and correctly. Then I'll start with a name. Mitchell Green. I set my coffee down. I had not heard that name spoken out loud in 11 years. Mitchell Green. My oldest friend. My college roommate at Howard University in 1974 when we were both broke, hungry for success, and fully convinced the world owed us something. It did not, but we were young enough to believe it anyway. I remembered him sitting across from me in a diner on 45th Street 31 years ago, a paper napkin full of numbers in front of him, with the look of a man who had run out of options but not out of belief. Eugene, I need $50,000 in 6 months. That's all. I've been everywhere. Nobody will touch it. But I know this works. I know it like I know my own name. I looked at that napkin. I looked at Mitchell. And I thought, this man has never lied to me in 30 years of friendship, not once. So I gave it to him, quietly. No contract, no equity papers, no lawyers. Just a handshake and a $50,000 wire transfer from an account even Sandra didn't know existed. Because Sandra would have said I lost my mind, and she would not have been wrong. I just didn't want that argument, because I already knew what I was going to do. 6 months later, Mitchell's logistics company landed its first big contract, a mid-sized factory in New Jersey that needed a supply chain system no one else had designed the way he did. 2 years later came a second contract, then a third, then a fourth so large he had to hire 47 people in just 3 months. By the time he sold the company 15 years ago, a deal that made the front page of the Wall Street Journal business section and produced a number I still struggle to say out loud, he was worth $380 million. I was in Queens, retired, watching the History Channel. We always had an understanding. Mitchell tried many times to repay me many times over the years. I refused every time. Not out of pride, well, not only pride, but because what I gave him was not a loan. It was a belief in a friend, and I never needed anyone to know I made that choice or that it worked. Mitchell told me about you 6 years ago, Maurice said. We were building the early investor group for what became Parker Clean Infrastructure Fund. Mitchell was our second major investor. He made it a condition, not a request, a condition, that before anything was finalized, we find a man named Eugene Price in Queens, New York, and make him an offer. I stayed quiet. He told me, Maurice continued, there was a man who funded his entire future on instinct, friendship, and $50,000. He said this man never asked for anything back. No credit, no payment, not even a mention. He paused. He said you were the most quietly powerful person he had ever known. Mitchell always talks too much, I said. Maurice gave a small smile, the first I had seen from him. It suited him, calm and real like everything else about him. He also told me, Maurice said, that if I ever met you, I should pay attention. That you are the kind of man who says more by saying nothing than most people say in a lifetime. Mitchell is generous, I said. Mitchell is accurate, Maurice replied. I watched you last Friday night. The whole room was laughing, and you sat there like a man who knew something no one else did. He looked at me directly. I've spent 50 years in business, in rooms full of powerful people. I know that look. It's the look of a man who has been underestimated so many times that he stopped caring and started watching instead. I turned my coffee slowly in my hands. What exactly are you offering, Morris? He slid a folder across the table. 15% equity in Parker Clean Infrastructure Fund. No money required from you. Your contribution was made 31 years ago. Mitchell's investment, which became part of our early funding, traces directly back to the $50,000 you gave him in 1993. Without that, none of this exists. The fund recognizes that. He tapped the folder. Everything is inside. I looked at it but did not open it yet. Why didn't Mitchell call me himself? Because, Maurice said, he was afraid you'd say no out of habit. Fair, I thought. He's not wrong, I said. He usually isn't, Maurice replied. Open it, Eugene. I opened the folder. I was not ready for the exact number on the first page. I will just say it had enough zeros to make a 69-year-old man from Queens sit very still for a long time and rethink every step that brought him to this exact moment, in this exact room, with a menu that had no prices. I closed it again. I need time to think, I said. Of course, Maurice replied. And I need to understand something, I added. Why you stood up at that gala? You could have called. You had my name. You had Mitchell. You didn't need to bid $1 million in front of everyone. Maurice was quiet for a moment. He looked at his coffee. Because, he said at last, your son put you in that chair and let a room full of people laugh at you. And I watched you take it with more dignity than I have seen in any man in 50 years. He looked up again. And I thought Mitchell was right. And I wanted your son to see it too. To understand that the man he called boring had someone in that room who knew exactly who he was. I nodded slowly. Think about it, Maurice said. That's all. We finished breakfast. I took the folder back to Queens. I read every page 3 times. Then I called my accountant, Harold, a careful man who never got excited in 30 years of managing my modest finances. Harold said, Eugene, please say yes. I called Maurice the next morning. I'll do it, I said. One condition. Name it. I said, my son has been trying to get a meeting with Parker Capital for 2 years. I said I knew this because he had mentioned it at Thanksgiving and then again at Christmas. Both times I acted like I didn't really hear him. I don't want you to take that meeting, I said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That part is your choice as a business decision, but I want him to understand why. There was a long silence on the line. Then Maurice said, Eugene, and I could hear something in his voice. It might have been respect, it might have been interest, and it was probably both mixed together. Yes, he said slowly. I think that can be arranged. 6 weeks later, on a Wednesday morning in October, I put on my navy suit for the 3rd time. It had started to feel like a lucky suit now. Sandra would have hated that idea. Jordan had called me the Sunday before. He used his casual tone, the Sunday voice, the voice he used when he wanted something but did not want it to sound like he wanted it. Dad, hey, random question, he said. You know Maurice Parker, Parker Capital Group? I said. That is not really a lie. It is just a sound. I've been trying to get a meeting with his team for 2 years, he said. Nobody gets through. Literally nobody. but I heard from someone that he's been active lately taking meetings, and I just thought—" He stopped for a moment. "Do you know anyone who might know him? From your old network or something?" "I can't think of anyone," I said in a calm voice. "Right, yeah, long shot," he said. Then there was a pause. "Hey, you should come to dinner soon. I feel like I haven't really seen you since—" He stopped himself. He knew exactly when it was. "Just soon," he said. "Okay," I said. There was no anger in me anymore. That had slowly gone away long ago, somewhere between long days in the city and quiet conversations I never had. It was not satisfaction either, not yet. What I felt was patience. A very specific kind of patience. The kind that builds over many years when a person stays quiet too long and then finally decides the timing is right to speak. Maurice had built the meeting like a careful design. It was not random. It was made with the precision of someone who understands that how a moment is arranged is just as important as the moment itself. Jordan had been talking with a junior associate at Parker Capital for 3 weeks. It was all carefully managed. Just enough contact to keep hope alive. Just enough distance to create pressure. Just enough status to make him feel important. And just enough uncertainty to make him bring other people with him. He had even told his assistant that this was the most important meeting of his life. Her name was Renee. I had met her once during Christmas. She had looked at me with complete honesty and said, "Mr. Price, your son talks about you more than he realizes." That morning, she sent me a message. "He's nervous," she wrote. "He picked his outfit last night." I arrived at Parker Capital's office on 6th Avenue at 9:15. The office was on the 43rd floor. The view made the city look like it had been placed there on purpose for whoever was standing at the window. Sharon, Maurice's assistant, met me at the elevator. "Mr. Price," she said, very professional, very calm. "Mr. Parker will bring you in at the right time. There is coffee in the side room." "Thank you, Sharon," I said. She paused at the door. "Mr. Price," she added quietly, "Mr. Parker told me what this meeting is about." She gave a small, controlled smile, the kind only very experienced assistants have. "I have worked for him 11 years, she said. "I have never seen him enjoy preparing for something this much." Then she left. I sat in the side room with my coffee and listened. Jordan arrived at 9:30. I could hear him in the hallway before I saw him. His voice was bright, slightly faster than normal, the voice he used when he wanted to perform confidence. "This place is incredible," he said. "We've followed everything Parker Capital has built, especially the infrastructure fund. The vision there is really impressive." I sat there quietly. I thought about how I had raised him. I thought about how I had built moments like this in other ways over the years. Maybe those two things are connected. Maybe they are not. Then the meeting started. Through the wall, I could hear Maurice speaking. Calm voice. No rush. He asked Jordan questions about the foundation, its structure, its goals, and how it was funded. Jordan answered carefully. He spoke with clarity and passion. He explained his work in underserved communities. I could hear pride in his voice, and I also felt it. That complicated feeling that comes with being proud of someone who does not fully understand you back. It is pride mixed with a quiet sadness. The sadness of being seen only in parts, not as a whole person. About 20 minutes later, Maurice spoke again. "Before we continue," he said, "I would like to bring someone in. He has been involved with our fund from the beginning, and I believe his perspective will be helpful." There was a short pause. "Of course," Jordan said. I could hear the small shift in his tone, a slight reset in his thinking. The door to the side room opened. Sharon nodded at me. I stood up. I adjusted my jacket. I picked up my old leather briefcase. Sandra had always disliked that briefcase. I have carried it for more than 20 years. It has been with me through too many things to replace now. I walked into the conference room. What happened to my son's face in the first 4 seconds is something I will remember for the rest of my life. And I plan to live a long time just so I can keep remembering it clearly. First came recognition. That is my father. Then confusion. Why is my father here? Then quick thinking. His mind started connecting pieces, trying to understand. Maurice Parker knows my father. Then came the last expression, the one that cannot be hidden. The moment when understanding becomes too big to hold back. The realization that something has been going on for a long time, and he did not know about it. "Dad," Jordan said. His voice was lower than normal. "Jordan," I said calmly, like I always had for 35 years. I sat across from him. Maurice was at the head of the table. Then the door opened again. Mitchell Green walked in, my oldest friend, my college roommate. I had not seen him in 11 years. He had flown in the night before. We had hugged in the hallway for a long time without speaking. That kind of silence says everything. He sat beside Maurice and looked at Jordan quietly, carefully, like a man who understands value and history. Jordan looked at him, and I saw the moment he recognized the name. I saw him realize who he was sitting across from. A man who had built a major logistics company over the last 30 years. I watched him slowly begin to understand. Like someone reading a map upside down and then finally turning it the right way. Maurice spoke again, hands folded, calm and steady. "Jordan," he said, "I want to be clear with you. I believe in transparency, and I think you deserve to understand what this meeting is really about." Jordan nodded, but the performance was gone now. What was left was just him. No acting. No confidence mask. Just my son. "Your father and I are partners," Maurice said. "A 15% equity stake in Parker Clean Infrastructure Fund. That partnership was finalized 6 weeks ago. It was made possible because of a decision your father made 31 years ago. I will not go into details unless he chooses to share them himself. But it is a key part of everything this fund stands on." Silence filled the room. Jordan turned to me. "Dad." "Let him finish," I said quietly. Maurice continued. "Your foundation's work is real. Your proposal is strong. Your team has done serious work. Under different conditions, this would be a different outcome." He paused again, carefully choosing his next words. "But I have known about your request to meet Parker Capital for 2 years. And I made the decision not to take that meeting. I want you to understand why, because I believe you should know the reason." Jordan did not move. His 2 board members sat completely still. The kind of stillness people have when they realize they are part of something private and cannot easily leave it. "The night I met your father," Maurice said, "I saw a 69-year-old man get placed into a chair on a stage in a room full of people he had never met by his own son and turned into a joke. And I watched him take in every single second of it, with more dignity and calm than I have ever seen in anyone in my entire 50 years in business." Maurice's voice did not rise at all. It never needed to. I do not do business with people who cannot see the value of what is right in front of them.